Hello everyone, welcome to the second part of my guide, How to Connect Bubble and Xano Together Professionally. In this series of videos, we are going to record 3 videos actually, and we are going to review in each one different ways or methods you can use to authenticate your API calls being made from Bubble to Xano. The first case where we don't have user authentication at all, but it's still we want to validate or authorize our API calls being made and keep the endpoint safe, right? The second case is where we require user authentication, but we are going to use the built-in system of Bubble and the built-in system of Sano to combine them and keep them sync to authenticate users. I will explain details how each of these work in the respective videos, but for now, I will just explain how is this structure. Finally, in the third video, we're going to review the case where you want to have more flexibility or more like capacities to customize the sessions of your users. For example, if you want to put a limit to the sessions that can be created, or not created, sorry, to the sessions that can be at the same time connected to the platform, like for instance, from 3 different browsers to the same account in the application, or if you want to customize the duration of each session, then in this case we're going to use a combination of the local storage in the client side, some nice features of Bubble in the server side. Of course, we're going to use the authentication system of Xano to validate the calls that are being made to the backend. So yeah, as I said, I will explain each of these in detail in the respective videos. But in the first one, we are going to start with this, with the most simple case, and actually a method we are going to use truly the 3 cases. Um, and this is a way to protect your endpoints without having to require an authentication token or something to your users. So again, in this first case, we're going to review this no user authentication is required case. And yeah, let's get started. So the first thing I want to point out is how Bubble and Xano will be working together. I think it's important to understand how is everything working as a system. So I will explain it with this diagram. Let me zoom in for a bit. Okay, so as you can see here, I have this diagram where we represent in this rectangle the bubble side, which is composed of the client side and the server side. And we have in the Xano backend outside of this environment, right? So basically, what we do is that from our client side, we send an API request to Xano, but it is not passed directly to it. Actually, it goes first to our server side in Bubble, where the actual API call is built. Um, you can pass some basic parameters to the call, but it is complemented with some private values that we set up in our API connector. And then once the API call is built, it is the request is made to the Xano side. And what we will we will sorry, what we will be passing here is the API request, but it will contain a custom auth header, which will contain a private token or secret token or key, whatever you want to call it. um, we are going to take it against an environment variable called global endpoint UUID1, Universal Unique ID 1, which we will create also in the Sun environment. So basically, each endpoint that is going to receive this custom header, it is going to take its value against this variable. If it's the same, then it will work properly. But if it's not the same, then it will return an error. That way, if someone from Postmark, for example, finds out about your endpoint and try to make a request to it, it will fail because they are not passing this header to the call. So how do we implement this? Actually, it's not that difficult. It has 4 simple steps, which I describe very well in this publication I made in my blog. The first one is that we're going to create the unique universal ID variable to store it in the Xano environment, as we show over here. Then we're going to create the function that checks the universal unique ID. That is going to be placed within the API or the endpoint, which is actually the third step of our of this of this guy in this case. We create the endpoint and we place this the function in there, and then we will go to Bubble and configure our API connector to send the call and pass through the header this custom token or custom header we need to verify that this request is authorized. So let's jump into it. Here's my Xano dashboard. You have to press here in settings. Once you are here, you have to manage your Xano environment, I mean your environment variables. You're pressing manage, and you add a new variable. So let's use the same naming we are using here in my post, so we can be so we don't make any kind of mistakes. And as you can see, I have to place something here. You can either create anything, you can just type any text, doesn't really matters. What I like to do actually is to create a unique universal ID, and that's what we are going to do. So let's go to library, sorry, and no, sorry, my bad. Let's go. No, actually, let's do it in. It doesn't matter. Let's do it as it is in the guide. So we can enter any group. We are going to add a simple endpoint. Oh my bad. We are going to start from scratch. Let's call it, I don't know, UUID. It doesn't matter really because we are going to raise this endpoint after we have created unique universality. We can add the function to the stack. To do this, we go to security option and then we select unique universe ID or UUID, and here we save this and we run this. We will receive the unique universal ID. As you can see, it's a long string without. It's an incoherent link. I mean, it's an incoherent string. It's not easy to guess for sure. So we can copy this, and then we can travel again to our settings tab. We can press on manage, and then we can place the value in here. We can save this, and then we save, and now the environment variable is created. So that's the first step of this guide. The second is to create a function that checks the UUID for us. Okay, so how do we do this? We go to library, we enter into functions, and then we add a new function. I don't remember the exact naming we're using here. Let me check. Here it is. We will use the name we place here. Okay, let's use it at in there. And there you have your function. So now how do we check for the headers, and how do we compare it to the Xano environment variable? Well, that's simple. We would use this function from the utility functions option, which is called precondition. Basically, what this function does is that you put a series of a set of conditions, and if they are met, then your endpoints will continue their flow as intended. But if the criteria is not met, then it will return an error to the client. So basically, what we want to do here is that we want to check into the headers of the call. If you see this environment group, you have to select HTTP headers, and we want to look for a specific path, which is over here, custom auth. Um, and I will place these dots. I will write custom auth, and that's it. That's our with this path, we will be retrieving the custom out header that we are going to compare against the variable. And to find the variable, actually, it is in the environment group as well, and it is over here, global endpoint unique universe ID 1. And yeah, that's it. With this, we are going to be checking against the variable. And if for any reason this criteria is not met, then we are going to return this error message, which is unauthorized, and the type of error will be unauthorized. Let's save this for now, and that's it. You have your function already created. So the next step is that we're going to create a test endpoint. We are going to check for we're going to add this function to check the headers every time we receive an external data call. I mean data call, API call. Sorry. So let's go to API. I'm going to this demo folder. Actually, let's reuse this one, and I'm going to delete this thing, whatever. and we're going to return the message success, and it will be returned as result. Let's save this. And what we are going to do here is that we are going to add the function. We go to custom functions and we add the function we just created. And that's it. You don't have to do anything else. So that's the third step. As you can see, it's fairly easy to do. We have, just keep in mind that we have to keep disabled the authentication in the settings of this endpoint. But now this is ready to use. So I will copy the endpoint in here and I will navigate to my bubble side. And here I already create for you a group that will be called Xano Demo Auth. And what we are going to do is that we are going to add the call in here. I will copy the URL in here, the endpoint URL. And yeah, that's it. If I try to initialize this call, it will return an error because I haven't passed yet the header, the custom header that contains the token. It's been checked in the backend. So we have to add that. I suggest you not to add it to each code independently, but use the shared headers. Shared headers. So, for instance, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to add this custom header. I don't remember what was the exact name. I don't want to make the mistake of the header that we are using. Aha, there it is. As you can see, this is the path. So we are going to copy the path, custom auth. We're going to close this. Let's close this. Let's go back. Um, I will add the key of the header, which is custom out. And for the variable, we need to go against the settings to manage and extract this value over here. And then we are going back here and here. So now what we are going to do is that we are going to repeat this call. We are going to try to initialize it again. But now in the headers, this custom out header will be added with this value, which is the same unique universal ID that we are storing in the Sun environment. So we press initialize the call, and that's it. You have the result. Success. Yeah. Um, Remember that I always suggest you to include errors in the response and allow workflow actions to continue, because this is something we are going to use actually in the third part of this guide. Because not the third video, but the third part of this guide, where we will talk about how to handle errors and other tips I can give you when making API calls or doing API calls to the Xano backend. But yeah, for the moment, keep them checked. And yeah, let's initialize this. Let's say that extra information has been added here, so we can save this, and that's it. If you haven't seen the first part of my guide, I recommend you to do so. And in that part, we explain how we can manage different branches, how do we manage versions, inputting an environment variable in here, and also how we can address different data sources using another header. Uh, so that's it for this video. I hope it's clear enough. Please feel free to visit my blog and read it thoroughly. I explain more details, everything in there. I think it's well structured. So yeah, that's it. And I will see you in the next video, where I will be talking about how to authenticate users, but using the built-in system of Bubble in combination with the GWT tokens of Xano. Bye.